Tonight, a top minister forced to quit in a scandal. The Andrews government in crisis. Also, Freedom Day for Sydney as Victoria hits a major milestone on the roadmap out of lockdown. Vax passports rolling out across the state with a big change in vaccine rules. A mum left on hold on 000 as she fought to revive her 4-month-old baby. A popular tourist town out to ban dogs for the summer. And the Pies seal a trade deal as Ron Barassi finally gets his hands on Melbourne's Cup.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell.
Good evening. The Andrews government is in crisis after a top minister was forced to resign just minutes into a corruption probe. Child Protection Minister Luke Donnellan stood down as an IBAC inquiry was told the Labor Party was out of control and rife with branch stacking.
5 hours into day one of a Victorian Labor corruption probe and the first scalp was claimed.
It was myself, Adam Somyurek and Luke Donnellan.
It was that allegation of branch stacking that forced Luke Donnellan, the Minister for Child Protection, Aged Care and Disability, to resign from Cabinet. I accept that I have previously breached party rules while a minister, but let me be very clear, I never misused public funds or resources in any way. The Premier quickly followed suit, thanking him but saying he couldn't comment any further. It all came undone as federal MP Anthony Byrne told the Commission he began branch stacking in 1999 and by 2019...
I thought the party was completely out of control.
And Mr Byrne claimed one man was at the centre of it all.
I was referring to a party that basically was being taken over by one person whose sole objective was power and power alone.
Who's the person you're referring to?
Adam Somyurek.
Mr Byrne says he, former Minister Adam Somyurek and Mr Donnellan paid thousands of dollars for other people's membership fees from a kitty kept inside his office.
It just was a focus of just get this done to the exclusion of just about anything else.
Mr Byrne claims the party agreed to reduce branch stacking, but it ramped back up in 2014. He says when the allegations were made public last year, he felt relieved because the practice had ripped the soul out of the Labor Party and the community. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Sydney is out of lockdown tonight and celebrating freedom for the fully vaccinated after 106 days under restrictions. The city opened up as Victoria recorded 1,612 new Delta cases, but we're on target for restrictions to start to ease in 12 days.
As the clock struck midnight, Sydney's pub doors were thrown open. A check of the vaccine passport and they were back on the beers.
Feels good to be out.
After 15 weeks in lockdown, some Sydney siders marked the end the same way it began.
2, 1.
Enormous queues of shoppers and scenes of panic buying at Kmart and Spotlight. Desperate hair appointments spilled out onto the footpaths.
He's awesome. So yeah, we're flat out. I think we're flat out till Christmas.
As Sydney breathes a sigh of relief, Melbourne holds its breath, watching the state reopen with less than 500 cases and more than 70% of residents aged over 16 fully vaccinated. They can now have 10 visitors to the home, ditch masks outside, retail, hospitality, hair and beauty are open with density limits, and a group of 20 can work out in a gym.
This is a long way from over. It's a long journey ahead for the people of our state, but I think everybody today should give themselves a pat on the back and celebrate all the efforts and sacrifices they've made.
We're currently tracking 12 days behind to hit the 70% target. Still no home visits and outdoor is key for 10 people gatherings and hospitality, even retail, but hairdressers are back for 5 customers. Victoria's recorded another 1,612 new cases and 8 deaths today, including a man in his 40s. While our cases remain high, the government says we're still on track to reopen.
So far, we remain within that band.
But that depends on the toll on our health system. Today, 677 COVID patients in hospital, 133 in intensive care and 94 on a ventilator. The northern suburbs outbreaks are stabilising. The concern now, the southeast. The state government's announcement 10,000 racegoers will attend the Melbourne Cup in a vaccine economy trial has parents frustrated. Punters have been given priority over returning students to the classroom full-time.
It's not just about having events again. There's also going to need to be taken into consideration how we work on children's mental well-being, how we make sure every child has an equitable chance to catch up.
Are you confident the government's got its priorities straight, that you can go to the races before you can go and visit someone, your family, at their home?
Yes, I am.
For goodness sake, get our kids back to school and get their parents back to work through small business and retail.
Jade Vincent, 7 News.
Sydney-siders are making the most of their freedom tonight. Alex Hart is at a popular sports club, and Alex, the city is coming back to life.
It is, Mitch. It's starting to get busier here. Some people enjoying a drink at the bar. The dinner service has just begun. The restaurants here restricted in capacity. Not completely booked out, but certainly they're expecting a busy night here for a Monday night. This sports club served the community throughout the lockdown, acting as a walk-in vaccination hub, but it has been converted back from hub to club in anticipation of today, and we're expecting, just like here right across Sydney, pubs, clubs, restaurants to be busy tonight. Everybody's celebrating the first of our freedom days after 15 months of lockdown. No doubt frustrating for Victorians still enduring lockdown right now, but it is undoubtedly in the whole country's interests for the reopening here to succeed, so that we can all start getting on with life, Mitch.
Yes, indeed. Alex Hart in Sydney, thank you. Victoria's first vaccine passports have gone live under a new trial in venues across the state. It's the first glimpse at what freedom could look like for the fully vaccinated, but providing proof is problematic.
Cheers! Double cheers, Victoria! Yay!
Another post-lockdown reopening, but at this pub in Cowes, today is different.
Useful for something now. Thank you. Thank you.
It's one of 15 venues in regional Victoria trialling the state government's vaccine passport.
The fact that you can come here and feel that everyone's double vaxxed is a reassuring thing.
Reassuring, once it works, first drinks were delayed by clunky moments, switching between updated apps and filling online forms.
And download it through your Medicare.
I haven't got any of that. That's what I'm saying.
But success was just minutes away for most after 9 weeks of this pub being closed. The passport trial, only confirmed yesterday as a goer, allows more customers to be let in.
By doing this, we can have 30 people inside and 100 outside, and we move into the next stage of the roadmap.
When the whole state reopens, we'll need vaccine proof to enter most venues. The best way is through a digital certificate in the Service Victoria app. You can also use your phone's digital wallet, your Medicare app with an immunisation history certificate, a printed copy of that certificate, or a medical exemption.
I've got the hard copy. I haven't got that clever yet.
You must update the Service Victoria app from today and follow the prompts to link your vaccine certificate.
We believe there will be some teething issues rolling out the new technology, but there are a number of ways that patrons can prove their vaccination status.
The pub has hired extra security for this weekend when it ordinarily wouldn't have, given there's such a small crowd allowed in. But management is still a tad concerned about anti-vax sentiment. That's despite the Bass Coast having one of the highest vaccination rates.
95% first vaccination is a fair vote of confidence from the local community that we really want to get on with it.
Also being trialled, rapid antigen testing for staff and students at Furbank Grammar. Anyone on the senior campus will be tested Mondays and Thursdays.
Pretty great to think that we're the first in Victoria to be undertaking rapid testing, yeah.
The school also plans to offer on-site booster shots. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
And there has been a major change to help speed up Victoria's roadmap. Jade Vincent has the details, and Jade, walk-up vaccines are now much easier to access.
Mitch, the state government announced from today both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines will be available for every Victorian aged over 12. So this means for the over 60s, they can now walk into a state-run clinic and receive one of those mRNA vaccines if that's what they've been holding out for, and that's due to a boost in supply. But it really is the young Victorians aged 12 to 15 who are showing us how quickly they can get the job done. 64% of this age group have already had one dose, and that's in less than a month of becoming eligible. A reminder, Mitch, that for anyone wanting the Moderna vaccine at many of the state-run clinics, you don't need to make a booking. You can simply turn up, walk in and get the jab.
Jade Vincent at South Wharf, thank you. Mildura's COVID outbreak has grown by 36 cases, bringing the total number to 95. COVID commander Jerome Weimar spent the day in the border town, urging locals to come forward for testing.
So far, we've already seen one person who has been taken to hospital, and increasingly we are seeing people who are being exposed in the community and potentially have to have some access to clinical care.
Mildura is currently on day 3 of a week-long snap lockdown. Scott Morrison has praised New South Wales for leading the way out of lockdown. The Prime Minister is now urging other states to fast-track their path to freedom.
Celebrating his own Freedom Day, Scott Morrison emerges from 2 weeks quarantine, praising New South Wales for reaching its milestone.
Enjoy the moment, enjoy it with your family, enjoy it with your friends.
Calling on the rest of the country to pick up the pace.
Let's keep going, Australia, with the vaccination program.
Apart from the ACT that's speeding through the program,
we've gone over 98% first dose coverage.
Most states are still around the 50 to 60% double dosed rate.
New South Wales got 1 million extra doses of Pfizer months ago.
Western Australia's Mark McGowan says he's not willing to let COVID in to boost the rollout.
It's just a stupid thing to say. It's a stupid argument.
Queensland's Premier wants to reopen to New South Wales, but says not everyone in her state has had the opportunity to get the jab.
The sooner people get vaccinated, the better that life will be.
Opposition leader Anthony Albanese spent Freedom Day at a local brewery in Sydney. He's urging everyone to stay COVID safe.
We need to make sure that we continue to be cautious, we continue to be careful.
And new modelling out today suggests that the New South Wales reopening will reignite the national economy.
We also know from other experiences through this pandemic that the economy does bounce back.
Hoping for another speedy recovery. Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
And here is the state of play tonight. Victoria is closing in on the 60% double dose milestone. Today's 1,612 new cases are down on yesterday and still within expectations under the modelling. 86% of Victorians over the age of 16 have now had their first dose. 60% will have had both doses by tomorrow. Victoria is now on track to hit the 70% double dose target on October the 23rd, 3 days ahead of the original date. We're currently expected to achieve 80% double dose on November the 3rd. A Melbourne mother has fought to save her baby's life performing CPR while on hold to 000. The 4-month-old girl had stopped breathing, but it took 8 minutes for the emergency call to be answered.
It was the scariest 8 minutes of Sophia Mutz's life, saving her daughters.
I just did whatever I could. I knew I had to do something because if I didn't, I was going to lose her.
4-month-old Madeline has epilepsy and stopped breathing.
All of a sudden I noticed her eyes went back into her head, her tongue came out and her body just went stiff. And I thought it was a seizure, so I tried to administer first aid, and that's when I realised she's actually stopped breathing.
Sophia immediately called 000 and began CPR on her daughter's lifeless body.
The phone just kept ringing and ringing, and I sort of freaked out a bit.
After 8 minutes on hold, her call was finally answered. An ambulance arrived 5 minutes after that. Madeline has spent the past 4 days in hospital recovering. 000 operator Esther is receiving a record 3,000 calls every day. A third of the calls they receive don't need an ambulance.
I could have lost my little girl because of someone who was taking up the line over a runny nose.
Last week, Ambulance Victoria transported 200 people with COVID-related symptoms to hospital every day. They're bracing for that number to rise to 300 this week.
Both dealing with suspected COVID and actual COVID cases has slowed down the entire system.
The call centre really needs to be freed up for those emergencies like Madeline, so people aren't waiting the 8 minutes for life-saving treatment.
Melina Saris, 7 News.
There has been an outpouring of emotion over the death of a pregnant mother in Melbourne's east. Chief Crime Reporter Cameron Bowe is tracking the investigation, and Cameron, it's hit the community hard.
Mitch, the shock felt over the death of Michelle Dara continues to grow. Members of her local community have today paid their respects at her former home. Several people have left flowers at the property today. Colleagues have also paid tribute to the pregnant mother of two. In a statement, the Australian Association of Social Workers said, "Our condolences go out to the family of Michelle during this deeply traumatic time. We must never lose sight of the fact that violence in the home is never acceptable." Her former partner, Ben Coleman, remains in the Royal Melbourne Hospital under police guard. Homicide Squad detectives have yet to interview him, Mitch.
Cameron Bowe at Parkville, thank you. A peace deal has paved the way for businessman Jeff Brown to become the next president of the Collingwood Football Club. It comes after a tumultuous year at the club and the shock resignation of Mark Corder. Lawyer Francis Galbally will abandon his push for a spill of the board. Members will need to vote Brown in ahead of the AGM on December the 16th. Melbourne legend Ron Barassi has finally got his hands on the 2021 Premiership Cup. The 85-year-old already dreaming of the Demons going back-to-back.
It's a grand old flag, it's a high-flying flag, it's the emblem for you and for me.
Ron Barassi played in 6 premierships for Melbourne during the 50s and 60s. A very happy man. The Pies have pounced on a Bulldog live wire. Tim Watson, the clock's ticking on the AFL trade period.
Mitch, 48 hours and counting, but there's been some movement today for the very latest. Let's check in with Mitch Cleary. And Mitch, a Bulldog is craving more time in the midfield.
Tim, Collingwood has secured Patrick Lipinski as a key part in the future of their engine room. Pick 43, all it took to send him across town to the Pies. Meantime, at the kennel, after much deliberation and consideration, their vice-captain Mitch Wallace has made a call on his future. We'll hear from him later in sport on his plans for next year. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. A lot of Mitches tonight. Also ahead in sport, cricket bosses planning for a full house on Boxing Day. And Mitch, the exclusive interview coming up a little later. 3 of us.
Thank you very much indeed, Tim. Next, an online car review turns ugly with a bitter courtroom showdown over a Porsche. Also, Prince Andrew set to be stepped down from royal duties for life. Melbourne's Miracle Man given a revolutionary heart-in-a-box transplant. How vaccine-savvy Victorians are cashing in. And later, preparing children to come out of lockdown limbo, a special 7 News family report. An online review for a second-hand Porsche has ended in a bitter courtroom battle. The buyer claims he was sold a lemon and spent 3 years telling anyone who'd listen.
It was meant to be Peter King's dream car, a 2011 Porsche Panamera Turbo, top speed 303 kilometres an hour. Instead, Mr. King says it was defective and not roadworthy. He was so disappointed with his purchase from Lawbeck Luxury Cars in Port Melbourne that he posted bad online reviews for almost 3 years. Now, the salesmen are fighting back to protect their business, which turns over $60 million a year.
Welcome to Lawbeck Luxury Cars.
Sreko Lawbeck and his brother David today taking their customer to the Supreme Court, alleging Mr. King called them liars and dishonest. Their lawyer saying he'd declared the brothers engaged in a fraud and sold him a dangerous and unsafe car, adding Mr. King was pushy and aggressive, the customer from hell. The court heard that inside the showroom are signs asking customers to post reviews online. The judge said such encouragement runs the risk someone might leave a bad review. Their lawyer shot back. If you've got a defence of fair comment and honest opinion, as soon as the underlying facts are false, you're stuffed. You've got no defence. Mr. King told the court, "My reviews detailed my experiences. There's nothing in my reviews that is false." Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Prince Andrew has reportedly been stood aside from royal duties. Britain's Sun newspaper claiming siblings Charles, Anne and Edward held a summit and ruled the Duke of York should never return to public life. It's also been reported Prince William believes his uncle is a threat to the monarchy. Prince Andrew is facing a sex abuse lawsuit in the US filed by Virginia Giuffre. UK police have, however, dropped their investigation into allegations against him and Jeffrey Epstein. A Melbourne father is being hailed a miracle man after receiving a world record-breaking heart transplant. The organ spent more than 7 hours in a box during the life-saving operation.
18 months ago, Andrew Conway died in his sleep. Now he's training for a charity run.
A lot more fitness, a lot more stamina. I couldn't go upstairs before. I couldn't walk very far, I couldn't walk up hills.
The 55-year-old received a donor heart earlier this year, his new heart surviving more than 7 hours outside the human body. That's because, unlike transplants of the past, Mr. Conway's new heart wasn't kept on ice. Instead, inside a specialist heart box.
It's like a mini heart-lung machine, the machine that we use for supporting patients during heart surgery.
A trial of the Swedish technology is currently underway in Melbourne and Sydney. It doubles the time a heart can survive outside the body and reduces the risk of complications after surgery. Mr. Conway is one of 5 beneficiaries.
We're lucky and grateful. Like this, the whole thing's, the heart in the box is fantastic.
Close to 150 Australians receive a donor heart each year. It's hoped this technology will expand that number to allow an additional 22 people access to a life-saving heart transplant. It's particularly useful in Australia, where an organ might need to travel thousands of kilometres to save a life. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
More than 1.2 million Australians have signed up to the vaccine lottery just a week after the competition was launched. The campaign was created by a group of philanthropists to boost our vaccine rate.
We're actually making sure that people are safer in our community, particularly the more vulnerable people in the community. That's really why we're doing this.
The main prize will be drawn next month. The winner must be fully vaccinated. Jane Bunn joins us now, and Jane, it certainly was chilly again out there today.
Mitch, today was 5 degrees below average, more typical of what we see in June. The morning had lots of showers passing through. So it was sunny 1 minute, cloudy and raining the next, then back to sunny and a repeat. They cleared out during the afternoon, but the temperature didn't rise much. We only reached a top of 14. The wind had bite, but the sunny breaks felt a bit nicer than that. Next, we have a stretch of warmer weather and a bit of sunshine. The full details are after sport, Mitch.
Not June weather in October.
No.
Great, thank you, Jane. A Victorian beachside council is under fire over a push to ban all dogs from the main street. Details are next. Also, butchers get the chop in a supermarket meat revolution. The show of force fueling tension between China and one of its fiercest rivals. And painting the way to get Melburnians back to the city. A witchy-proof man has been found not guilty of manslaughter over an alleged punch that killed 56-year-old John Dury in 2019. A Supreme Court jury heard 28-year-old accused Dane McLennan and Mr Dury were play fighting in the moments before the incident occurred. Locals are fighting back over plans to ban dogs from the main street of a popular coastal town. The mayor says safety is behind the push, but it could keep desperately needed summer tourists away.
There were as many dogs as people on the main street in Port Fairy today.
It's part of our way of life here in Port Fairy.
But that could be about to change under a plan to ban pups, scooters and skateboarders during the upcoming peak holiday season.
We have got some strong feedback on it, and that's what we're seeking, input from the community.
Part of what keeps our town sort of going is having all of these tourists come in. A lot of people do bring their dogs with them.
Under the proposal, dogs would be banned from a section of Sackville Street between Bank and Cox Streets during the day, from Christmas Eve to Easter Monday.
It's a nonsense, and it will stop people coming. I won't. If that law is passed, I certainly won't come.
The motion was put forward by one of the Mon Shire councillors after some locals raised concerns about dog fights.
There's been some complaints about the number of dogs down the main street during the busy period. There's been some issues with dogs attacking other dogs.
To consider banning dogs for months at a time is, it's a fair overreaction.
Almost 1,500 people have already thrown their support behind an online petition against the amendment.
You can ban dogs off a lead, sure. You can't ban dogs from the street.
Councillors will decide next month. Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
In-store butchers have been given the chop at Coles, with only pre-packaged meat now available at the supermarket giant's Victorian stores. 1,500 qualified butchers and meat workers are set to be impacted by the move. Consumer experts are divided on what the change will mean for over-the-counter prices. Taiwan has staged a rare military parade, sending a blunt message to China's president. It's further fueling fears of a looming flashpoint between Beijing and the US alliance.
Taiwan turns on a military parade made for China, the president adding a rare direct mention of her country's giant neighbour. Nobody can force Taiwan to take the path China has laid out for us, she warns. China has long wanted to take back the island separated in civil war 72 years ago, now a flourishing democracy and US ally. Last week, Beijing stoked the issue, sending warplanes into Taiwan's airspace. President Xi warned China wants a peaceful reunion, but the complete reunification of our country must be and will be realised, he warns, to loud applause.
The risk is growing because of Beijing's belligerence and growing military capability.
This all the more pressing to Australia as we tighten our security alliance with the United States to contain China.
Xi will use force if he calculates he'll get away with it.
Taiwan's parade and warnings from allies.
The United States has a commitment to Taiwan that is rock solid.
Meant to tell China the cost of taking Taiwan is too high. In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Back home in Melbourne, streets and laneways are being reimagined with dozens of new murals and paintings. The initiative is keeping 150 artists in work and helping to give Melburnians another reason to rediscover their city.
Painting the way for a city and arts industry crippled by lockdowns to make a comeback.
Because the arts typically involves bringing people together, it's been really, really hard hit.
I was terribly affected, unfortunately. A lot of work that was, previously, I don't want to say promised, was very quickly and suddenly shut down.
Now Sean Liu is back on the tools.
Line after line after line for a whole month.
He's one of 150 artists employed by the City of Melbourne and state government as part of the Flash Forward program to create 40 large-scale artworks across the city's streets and laneways.
This is exactly what Melbourne's about, right? Very vibrant laneways, good street art.
It gives reason to people to come back. It gives people a reason to dwell and to get back into that sense of exploration and discovery around the city. And as they do that, they'll be able to support a lot of the small business owners around these laneways.
The artists are halfway there. Burke Place has been finished, so too has Tattersalls Lane. Rainbow Alley is also on the list. 20 down, just 20 to go.
We're making sure that the artwork is well lit And also, as the city reopens, we have a program of music so that you can have a fully 3D experience.
The final touches to help paint the town red. Hope Wilson, 7 News.
Victoria's 6 lockdowns have left preschool children in limbo because they've been cut off from the world in their formative years. Next, what parents can do now to help. Also, hopes of a breakthrough treatment for Parkinson's disease. And our Olympic sprint sensation back on track. There is fresh hope for more than 200,000 Australians with Parkinson's disease. Researchers say cannabis could be the key to stopping the disorder in its tracks. A trial on the Gold Coast will see sufferers given a non-intoxicating component of the drug. It's hoped the treatment will become the first to not only alleviate symptoms but stop the disease from developing further. Reports alleging a casino giant enabled money laundering dragged the markets down today. Finance editor Gemma Acton has more.
Thanks, Peter. The share market dropped sharply early on, then clawed back a little ground to finish 20 points down at 7,300. It was a tug of war between energy companies, boosted by a rising oil price, and casinos, which tumbled. The Aussie dollar is back at its highest in 4 weeks, buying 73.3 US cents, while iron ore has also had a modest bounce. Today, Star Entertainment shares plummeted. That was after media reports emerged alleging the casino giant enabled money laundering. They're down 28% since Thursday. Rival Crown Resorts, also facing misconduct allegations, has seen its share price drop by a third since May. Peter.
Gemma Acton reporting. Important new guidelines have been drawn up to help parents prepare their children for class. A generation of Melbourne preschoolers has spent the best part of 2 years isolated, forcing them to miss out on vital social and practical interaction.
They're part of the COVID generation. Lily and Freddie Gandolfo spending the best part of 2 years cut off from the world. 5-year-old Lily especially missing huge milestones in her formative years.
Socialisation with children her own age, routine, a challenge, getting challenged, so things like swimming lessons and drop-offs at parties.
While her parents work from home, Lily has had her brother for company. But like so many, she's been denied kindergarten and preschool.
I miss seeing my friends.
Readiness for school is so important. Socially, emotionally, we know our children have experienced a huge challenge and so may not be ready for school.
The sand is soft and warm. The sky is clear.
Educators across the state are preparing to help young children play catch-up. They're expecting an avalanche of separation anxiety.
They've had undivided attention for so long.
These children have been lucky. Their parents are essential workers and they've had the benefit of uninterrupted 3- and 4-year-old kinder programs. Life for them has continued as it normally would.
I like coming to school and playing with my friends all day.
But for those cocooned at home, starting school will be overwhelming.
Fair to say Lily's pretty good at wearing her pyjamas till lunchtime these days.
Lockdown parents are urged to show children photos of their school and teacher, to connect with families in the same class over Zoom, then arrange play dates when permitted. Practising routines like lunch packing will help them adjust next year.
I've been teaching us some maths problems.
Still, many little ones can't wait to begin exploring a much bigger world.
Yeah, I think she'll be okay.
Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Hang in there, everyone. Australia's Olympic hero Rowan Browning has made a spectacular return to racing. The sprint sensation putting an age-old question of man versus horse to bed.
Mullet Man takes his marks, and this was no mule.
And they're off.
Olympic sprinter Rowan Browning taking on a champion thoroughbred.
Browning's going to do it easily. The fastest man in the country's won it.
Thumping past on the home straight at Royal Randwick.
Hearing those hoofs come down was just thunderous, and, you know, I was definitely driven by fear.
more than anything else.
The Tokyo favourite finishing in 11.46 seconds.
My word, he's quick.
Jockey Hugh Bowman giving him a head start.
I must admit, I was trying to time my run so that we hit the post together.
Today's display of horsepower versus manpower, a warm-up ahead of the Everest on Saturday. Crowd numbers now on track to double for the big race. New South Wales Health agreeing to a new health order, allowing 10,000 people to gather and watch. The event dubbed the race that stops the hibernation. And Sydney's first event since the lifting of the lockdown. While the hairdressers are open, Rowan won't be rushing there.
I've been under pressure from my mum and my girlfriend to go and give the barber a visit, but I think I'm stuck with this look for a while. I might give it a tidy up.
Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
Yeah, it's a nice looking mane. Sports next with Tim Watson. And Tim, one potential AFL move has ruffled a few feathers.
It has, Mitch. This trade period is getting very interesting with the Giants digging in. We're live with the details next after a standoff with Victorian clubs. One Bulldog departs while another reveals what's kept him at the kennel. And Justin Langer's cryptic message ahead of the Ashes as full crowds edge closer for the Boxing Day test. Welcome back. Negotiations between clubs are getting tense as the AFL trade deadline looms. Live to Chief Football reporter Tom Brown. Tom, the Giants are digging in on their young star.
Tim, Bobby Hill wants to get to the Bombers. The Giants today still deciding if they'll dig their heels in. He's contracted Hill for one more year, and the Giants haven't decided if they'll let him go. Now, Essendon tonight's very relaxed about this whole thing. They only really learnt about it over the weekend. The Bombers informally think Hill's worth somewhere between 35 and 45. It's up to the Giants. His management in Western Australia determined to get the trade done tonight at Hawthorn. Chad Wingard does not want to go to the Giants. It's unlikely to happen. Wingard referencing the Wolf of Wall Street cryptically on Instagram today, I'm not leaving. But Sam Mitchell and Hawthorn would in effect pay for him to go. They'd pay up to $400,000 of his $700,000 salary. GWS would give Hawthorn a prize pick as high as 13, but it's pretty clear that Wingard does not want to do it. Currently, there is still nothing at all still in O'Meara going to Port Adelaide. Rory Lobb's mooted move to the Giants has collapsed this afternoon. And just finally, Gil McLaughlin's briefed club bosses on the vaccination policy this afternoon. The AFL think only one or two players might still be hesitant at this stage. It won't be mandatory, I understand, under the AFL's official policy, but I just spoke to one club president. The view is it will be mandatory to fly, so a requirement for the players nationally to get vaccinated.
Thanks, Tom. There could be a flurry of deals done late ahead of Wednesday night's deadline. Mitch Cleary is live with the details. And Mitch, the Ruckman hold the key.
Tim, key talks late this afternoon have edged the Ruck merry-go-round closer towards completion. It will see Geelong's Darcy Fort end up at Brisbane, Hawthorn's John Segler take his place at the Cats, and then Collingwood's Max Lynch move to Hawthorn. It could well save Mason Cox's career at the Pies, given he's yet to be offered a contract in black and white. Meantime, after exploring his options elsewhere, Western Bulldogs vice-captain Mitch Wallace is staying at the kennel. Mitch Wallace backing himself in after a trip west rediscovered his love for the Dogs.
Obviously there's a bit of uncertainty there throughout the year, but that month away that we had in Perth, I identified I want to be part of this club for the rest of my playing career, and what a better way to do it when, living through a final series and then planting seeds for next year and beyond.
Reduced to 6 games and overlooked for the grand final, Wallace has signed a 1-year deal and wants to retain the vice-captaincy into 2022.
Again, I'd love to, but there's a bit of time to pass before we can talk about those things.
It comes as Stephen Martin today signed a fresh deal that will see him start next season at 35. Youngster Cody Waitman to undergo ankle surgery tomorrow that will delay his pre-season into the new year. With dog Patrick Lipinski now a Pie. The deal clinched in exchange for pick 43 and a likely berth in Collingwood starting midfield next season.
Prove my worth and earn my spot, and hopefully next year be playing out the G in front of a massive fan base for the Magpie Army. So, yeah, can't wait.
Meantime, ex-Crow and Tiger Tyson Stenger will move to Geelong as a delisted free agent, reuniting with mentor and former Crows teammate Eddie Betts. Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
There's now expectations of a full house at the MCG for the Boxing Day test this Ashes series. England has named its strongest possible squad after delicate negotiations between captain Joe Root and Cricket Australia's boss helped save the series.
After precarious months, only visa and entry formalities remain before England can fly to Australia.
There's been a huge amount of work over many, many months to get to this point, and I think everyone is just really now looking forward to that first ball at the Gabba.
The Cricket Australia chief's sensitive and delicate negotiations convinced England's players and families to endure a tour in a bubble one more time.
It's about a balance between making sure we're keeping everybody safe, that we're giving our visitors an absolutely fantastic experience.
Only injured strike weapons Jofra Archer and Ben Stokes are missing after Joe Root rallied the rest of his men.
And I think it's massively exciting that actually, this series is going ahead. We're at the point where, everybody's committed and we're all going.
Still, there are roadblocks like state borders, but the Perth test will not be moved ahead of the MCG and SCG.
Absolutely, our plan is to play the matches as scheduled. We're desperate to play in Perth, so there's a huge amount of work going on in the background to make sure that test match can happen.
The next challenges get New South Wales and Victoria's Sheffield Shield teams playing and unite the men behind coach Justin Langer. After reviews, complaints about Langer's intense style and crisis talks to smooth things over, the coach posted a long, semi-cryptic post to Facebook from quarantine before the T20 World Cup today. It includes the line, "Don't be afraid to be yourself, even if it means removing yourself from lives you want to be in." Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
An engine penalty didn't help Daniel Ricciardo, who finished 13th at the Turkish Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton was left fuming in wet conditions after his team forced him to pit.
Man, why'd you give up that space? You should have come in, man. Got massive graining, man. I told you.
Hamilton finished 5th, while his Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas took the win. Second place was enough for Max Verstappen to regain the championship lead. And Mitch, that is Monday Sport.
Good on you, Tim. Thank you very much. Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, how is it looking tomorrow?
Oh, Mitch, it is warmer. We have plenty of sunshine, and that continues on Wednesday too. Then there is rain to follow. The full details are next.
Tonight on the latest from 7 News, more international reopening dates revealed, your complete guide to where you can travel and when you can go. How horse racing is set to boost post-pandemic economies, and new revelations in the search for Madeleine McCann. Join me for those stories and every breaking development tonight on the latest from 7 News.
Hello again. In today's sunny breaks, it looked lovely out the window, but out there in the wind, there's certainly some bite. It was a cold start, then it only reached 14 this afternoon, with the wind making it feel like single digits. There are areas of cloud over southern Victoria with showers coming in. They passed through Melbourne this morning. Some of the cloud is spilling into northern Victoria. It was cool north of the Divide, but all dry. There is a huge area of cloud, rain and thunderstorms that is up to our north with a trough, while the high is controlling our weather. Now, when it is back to our west, showers come in. But when it moves out to our east, we're dry and quite sunny like tomorrow. Then there is another complex weather system. It has tropical moisture and will slowly move through here to finish the week. We'll see that begin on Wednesday. Light rain at first, but thunderstorms are likely to kick off a band of heavy rain that runs through central parts and then the east later Wednesday into Thursday. There is a break on Thursday during the day before hit and miss showers and thunderstorms. They'll pop up with a low slowly moving through. Then on Friday and Saturday, we have widespread showers spreading through as the low forms just offshore. So in Melbourne, we have the potential for big thunderstorms and heavy rain on Wednesday night. But it is lovely in the 2 days before that. Now, Thursday is pretty nice too before the wet weather picks up once again. Around the nation tomorrow, most of the action is up north. We've got rain and thunderstorms in Brisbane, showery conditions in Sydney. Adelaide warms up, it's 23, Perth cools down, it is 18. To Victoria, clearing skies tonight bring the risk of frost by morning. It is mainly along the ranges. Horsham and Ballarat are in that zone, perhaps Hamilton too. Otherwise, early fog ahead of a dry and generally sunny day. We'll have just a bit of cloud. You can see it in here popping up during the afternoon. Winds are lighter and temperatures are pleasant. Closer in, it's a lovely Tuesday. After we warm up, it is only 3 degrees in a few suburbs at first, but it reaches 20 or 21 in lots of sunshine. The city begins on 6, it quickly jumps up to 21. Expect sunshine for much of the time, just a bit of cloud during the afternoon. To the 8-day outlook, it is lovely again on Wednesday. That is during the day. It is warm, it is dry for much of the time, a top of 21. Now that will rapidly change around 5 p.m. and Wednesday night is wet. We are looking at a cold front moving through, so it could be a long line of showers and thunderstorms as that kicks off. And in behind that, there's persistent rain. There could be heavy falls out of this one as it eases into early Thursday morning. Now Thursday during the day is actually quite lovely. There's lots of sunshine out there. It's a pleasant top of 18. Again, showers start late in the afternoon and continue on Thursday night. On Friday, just the odd shower in the morning. That's the best time. Then persistent rain comes in Friday afternoon, evening into the early hours of Saturday. Now, all up through here, it could be 30, maybe even 100 millimetres before some nice weather next week. 21 tomorrow, lots of sunshine, and it stays nice until that big change on Wednesday night, Mitch.
It's all over the shop, isn't it, Jane?
It is.
Thank you very much. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 11th of October. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.